guys, today we are going to be testing out a new eyeshadow palette and I am really excited, but before we get into the actual palette, I do have a couple of updates that I just want to kind of talk about. If you want to skip my rambles, here's a timestamp. But basically, if you've been on my channel for a while, you know that this is not my normal backdrop or background, if you want to call it that. Normally, I would have my wall and I had like my shelf and everything up there, but I wanted to get a backdrop so bad because I just needed a change. And so this is where we're at. I also got a microphone, so please let me know how the setup and everything looks on your end. I would love to know. If you have any constructive feedback, please do let me know because there's a lot of new things going on right now, but I'm excited. I'm excited to have this. I think this looks really cool. I have had a couple of people say that they've seen other YouTubers with the same backdrop, which I had never seen anybody use this when I bought it. So I'm not really surprised though, because I did buy it on Amazon and it was one of the first ones that came up. So now that we have all of that out of the way, let's get into today's video. So we are going to be testing out the Sample Beauty, the Prodigy palette. Is that how you say Prodigy? 1 second, let me look that up because I always get that word wrong.
Prodigy.
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 Prodigy. That's what I said. All right, so I did get it right. So here is what the palette looks like. If you have not already seen this, this is from a UK-based brand. So I got my palette off of Beauty Bay. So let's open it up together. I have taken the slip out because I have taken some pictures of this, but this is the palette and this color story is just, it's so me. I'm such a sucker for like jewel tones and dark mattes. So this palette, when I saw this, it really spoke to me. I've seen a lot of their palettes in the past and I've been this close to buying them, but the only thing that's kind of held me back is because a lot of their palettes are just so big. And when they did come out with like smaller palettes not that long ago, it came in a bundle and I just wasn't really interested in the bundle. And so when a lot of palettes are released at the same time, I get a little bit overwhelmed and I usually end up just not buying any of them instead of just buying the one that I want. But now that I have this one, I'm really excited to dig into it. So without any further ado, I think we should just go ahead and swatch this palette because I just want to get into this. I want to try this out. I want to see how the quality is. This is a new brand to me, so I don't know what to expect at all, but I have heard really good things. This palette retails for $21.75, which is very good value given that there are 21 colors in this palette. So reading straight from their website, it says it's featuring 21 ultra pigmented blendable shades in matte, foil, and duochrome finishes. This dual tone palette is a perfect match for creating endless eye-catching looks, a next level color story with a premium formula housed in a jewel inspired palette. It is vegan, cruelty free, and it does have a mirror in it. I will say from my swatches and just touching the shadows, the mattes felt very nice. They weren't too powdery, they weren't too dry, but they also weren't like super creamy. They were basically what I would imagine a matte to feel like, if that makes any sense at all. But I was very impressed by the fact that every time I went to like wipe off my hand to get the swatches off to go in and swatch again, like my fingers kind of felt stained, not in like a bad way, but just like it took a little bit to get the color off. Usually I'm able to just wipe my fingers on the towel that I have in front of me and then go in and do more swatches, but I actually had to use a makeup wipe to clean my fingers in between. And that to me just means that they have a lot more staying power and that they're actually going to stay on my eyes, which is great. Some of the foils in this palette, the shimmers, were incredible. There are two shimmers that I would say are more of like satins, which probably aren't my favorites, but I am mostly excited about the mattes. And since most of this palette is matte, I am so excited to test this out. So that's what we're gonna do. And I'm gonna go ahead and use my NARS eyeshadow base as my primer today, and then we're gonna test out some of these shadows. Like I said, I am so excited because Sample Beauty is a brand that I've been wanting to try for such a long time, and I've just kind of been waiting for like the right release for me, and I feel like this is so up my alley that I can't wait to put these on my eyes and see what they look like. I'm thinking for today's look, I want to kind of play with some of the teals in this palette because they are really speaking my name, especially this color right here, as well as this dark one. A black is always a must in my opinion. I love me a good matte black, so we're probably going to play with some of these. I also want to test out one of these duochromes, so I think that's where we're going to start. So I'm first going to go into this shadow right here. A lot of these names I'm not going to know how to pronounce, so I will just have the shadow on the screen so you can see what it is called. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this as my transition shade here, using my referral number 13 brush as usual. I would say as my very first impression here, this shadow is a little bit more sheer than maybe I expected, but it does seem to be more on the buildable side here. So I'm just going to take this in my whole crease pretty much. And I'm just gonna leave my options open on what I wanna do on my lower lash line because I just have not yet decided. I tend to just take it kind of one color at a time and see where we end up. Let me know if you guys have tried anything from this brand. I have honestly not heard anything but good things about this from the people that I have seen use this. So I really do have high expectations for how these shadows are going to perform, and so far I really like this. Actually, I like that this is more on the buildable side. It makes it very easy to kind of blend out on its own and to use as a transition shade. Next up, I'm gonna go into that darker teal, which so far not the best first impression of this color. Maybe I just needed a little bit more on my brush here, but I'm gonna use that to deepen this look up with. And I would say from just looking at this palette, I don't think this is the palette for someone who's more into subtle looks, because a lot of these mattes are quite dark, which is probably why I was drawn to it in the first place. Okay, so this shadow does build up nicely. I was a little bit worried when I first put my brush onto my eye because nothing really happened, but I think that this kind of formula is definitely more on the beginner friendly side, which will make it easier for someone who's maybe not into using very colorful shadows, and you can definitely maybe do more subtle looks with it since it is on the sheer side. If you like more of a wash of color, you can probably get both that and something that's more on the intense side. So that could definitely be a plus for some of you that maybe aren't super comfortable with using dark colors yet, because these are so far very, very easy to work with. I'm also going to do the same thing on my lower lash line. I've just kind of decided, I was looking at the palette trying to figure out if I wanted to do something different, but I think I'm just going to keep the same under my eye. But I thought we could do a question of the day. If you want to ask me a question, I did post on my community tab yesterday, so you can leave a question there if there's anything you want to ask me. It can be about anything. So this person says, if you can only use one makeup brand for all of your makeup, what brand would you use? That is such a tough question, and is honestly something that I have thought about so many times. Don't ask me why. But my problem is that usually for the brands whose foundations I like, I don't really like a lot of their other things. And obviously, like, the foundation and the base is very, very important. Like, if I don't have a good base, I don't feel like my makeup really looks all that good. So I don't know, that is so tough. And to try to find a brand that literally has everything, I don't know. Like, the first brand that kind of comes to my mind is ColourPop, but like I said, I don't really like their base products. I've tried their foundations and I'm not really a fan. I don't like their concealers, so that brand is kind of out of the question now. And then I feel like I'm kind of stuck with brands that are at Sephora because that's where I buy all of my foundations. So, God, I don't know, you guys. I guess another contender would be Urban Decay. I do like their foundation. I like their eyeliners. Don't really love like their eyeshadow palettes, but God, I don't know. This is so hard because most of the brands that I like their eyeshadows from, they don't have base products. So it's just, oh, you know what? I think I would say Natasha Denona. That would be hella expensive. Ooh, I think that would actually be the brand that I would choose because I do like her foundation. I have her Transform Matte foundation and I actually think that looks really, really nice. The undertone isn't perfect for me, but I do like the finish and I do like the wear of it. I love her eyeshadows. I have yet to try her concealer. I don't know if she has any powders. Honestly, not really sure about that. I mean, she has to have powders, right? She has everything else. So I don't know. I guess I would say Natasha Denona. I don't even know if she has mascara and stuff or eyeliners, but God, I don't know. And this just got way winged out and I didn't mean to do that. So now I just have to kind of roll with that. Oh man, I am having such a hard time. I might have to go look at my phone and just look at some different brands and see if I can think of a brand that has everything I would need. But I feel like at the end of the day, I would probably just go back to ColourPop just because they have so many different things and I feel like I could just like make their base products work somehow if I really had to. I'm not really one to like fuss with my foundations. Usually if I buy a foundation and I don't like it, I just don't use it again because I have other foundations that I like more, but I could probably find a way to like make them work. I don't really know. I feel like ColourPop is just such a safe choice though because they just have everything. I'm going to take a little bit of the black, just like the tiniest amount. Saying that, I'm like digging my brush into it. Should probably be a little bit more careful. But I'm gonna take a little bit of this black. I feel like it's probably going to be a pretty buildable black though, since most of the other shadows have been on the buildable side. I'm gonna use that to just deepen up the very outer corner of my eye here, and then we'll go in with some shimmers and see how the shimmers perform. And this black seems to be very, very easy to work with, which is always nice when you have a black eyeshadow. And if you're wondering about this brush, this is a brush that I got in a BH Cosmetics set. It's like a bullet brush. I really like this for using black in the very outer corner because it's very precise, but it's also able to kind of blend at the same time. It has a really nice shape to it. I'm gonna take the tiniest amount of that just on the outer portion of my lower lash line as well. What do I want to do on my lid? I feel like, I don't know what I feel like, honestly. I'm kind of thinking I want to take a little bit of this shimmer right here, which was that more of a satin formula, but I think I'm going to use a little bit of that just to kind of blend into that black so that we have a easier transition with one of these metallic shimmers. So I don't think I'm going to spray this because I just want to have a little bit of something to blend into that black with. And I also think that some of these duochromes are maybe going to be a little bit sheer, so it might be nice to have something just to blend that into. But this is definitely a satin shadow, but it's doing exactly what I wanted to do here. I feel like this color could probably be used in the crease as well. So I'm just kind of fading that into the beginning portion of my lid here so that, like I said, when I go in with that duochrome, it'll have a little bit of something underneath. And then what I'll do is I think I'm gonna use Moonstone. Let's just do some very quick swatches of this one and this one because I just want to kind of see now I'm very confused, that one and that one. So I think I'm gonna use, yeah, I'm gonna use this one. Did you even see what I just did? I'm sorry if you couldn't see that, but that's the color I'm going to use. I am going to spray that one though because I do want it to be as intense as I'm able to get it here. So this is definitely one of those finger shades. Like, I'm really trying my best to get anything onto my brush here, but it's so creamy. Like, can you see that? It's like creamy and flaky at the same time. This is the kind of formula that I always struggle a little bit with because I'm not a finger person. I'm gonna see if I can find a brush that I'm able to pick this up with properly here. And I am failing miserably. So I was going to originally make this into a video, but I'm gonna take my NYX glitter primer and I'm going to use some of this because that's how I've seen so many people use shadows like that. So I'm gonna first take a little bit of that and put it onto my lid. If you still wanna see a video where I compare this to my glitter glue, do let me know. So I'm just gonna pat some of this like on top where I want that shadow to be. And then I'm gonna use the same brush to basically pick up the shadow with. I'm just gonna dip my brush.
Wow, see, that picks up
so much better. I can totally see why so many people love this thing right now. All right, so let's go ahead and see if I can get an even layer of this on my eyelid here. Man, this thing is insane. I have never used a product like this before. This is so different from my glitter glue, and I'm definitely going to make a video using these two side by side because I feel like this is doing something that my glitter glue has never done before. Man, this thing is so sticky. It's almost kind of insane. And I can really see why some people use this as like a cut crease now because this works so well. I'm honestly a little bit blown away by this because that looks so good and so shiny, like holy crap. So I definitely didn't have to use as much as I did on the other side. So I'm gonna try to use a little bit less on this side now. Oh man, why is it taking me so long to get on board the glitter primer try-in? I really don't know because I feel like my life has literally been changed. And I'm probably going to stop complaining about these kind of shadows now because now I know how to use them. And I'm not going to be that bitch who's like, I hate using my finger because I'm not gonna have to use my finger anymore. This is so exciting for me. Oh my God. Like, look how beautiful that shadow is. Like, isn't that everything? Oh, it's so pretty. So I do feel like this didn't turn out as sharp as it did on the other side. So I'm gonna go in with just a little bit more here and just kind of not make this into a cut crease because I didn't really want it to be a cut crease to begin with. But since I used that primer and I made such a sharp line with it, it just kind of ended up looking like a bit of a cut crease. But this is so stunning. I'm honestly obsessed. And I'm so glad I tried this with the shadow because this is the kind of shadow that I normally struggle with. And I didn't struggle with this one today. And this looks so beautiful. Like, look at that. Oh, holy crap. I mean, if you guys struggle with these kind of shadows too, just buy this, honestly. Like, I'm never usually one who's like, you need this product, but I honestly feel like after having just used it once that you need this product because I needed this product, and that says a lot. So what do I want to do for the rest of this? Am I done? Do I want to do anything else like on the lower portion here? I think I'm just going to take a little bit more of that shadow that I used on my lid and just kind of wrap it around and make it look a little bit more cohesive, and mostly just because I want to use more of that glitter primer. So I'm just going to take a little bit more of that on a smaller brush here and just put that in the first portion of my lower lash line. Like, y'all, my life has been changed, and I did not think that my life would change today, but here we are, and it has. And I am so happy about that NYX primer, and I am also really happy about this palette now after I used it with the NYX primer. Like I said, I do think I would be a little bit annoyed if I didn't have it, because I would have to use my finger, and like I've said 1,000 trillion times, not a finger person, but I'm just so happy that I don't have to be a finger person at all, ever again in my whole life, because I cannot stop staring at how beautiful that looks. That looks amazing. So I'm gonna just finish off my eyes real quick, do something in my waterline, and then I'll come back and we can finish off with the face. This is what the eyes look like all done. I think this looks really, really nice. I'm honestly just so obsessed with that shimmer, I'm not gonna lie. I don't even know if it's the shimmer I'm obsessed with or if it's this NYX glitter primer, but either way, I think this looks so good. I did pop a little bit of this in my waterline. This is fresh from LA Girl. And then we're gonna move on to the face. So I definitely need some blush because I can't be without blush, you know? So I'm gonna use one of my Cover FX blushes. This one is in the shade Pink Dahlia. So I'm just gonna mix both of these together and use that as my blush. I do have a little bit of fallout that is still like sticking to my my cheekbone here, if you can call it that. Hopefully it's not going to be enhanced when I put highlighter on, but I would say that that's probably one of the downsides to this formula. Being that it does kind of stick to your skin without having a primer, is that if you get fallout on your face, it's going to be kind of hard to remove it because you can't just like wipe it away because the shadow actually sticks. It's not like some other matte formulas that I've used recently where it fell on my face and I was able to just wipe it away. So just something to kind of keep in mind, maybe be a little bit careful if you do your base first and you want to use this palette. So for highlighter, I'm going to use one from Bitter Lace Beauty. This is in the shade Fetty. It's really just, I feel like it's just going to turn into a bit of a pink. It's been a while since I used this, so let's see. Yeah, it's kind of like an icy pink, I guess you could call it. It's got a little bit of blue in it as well, it kind of looks like. Yeah, it's kind of got like a lot of colors in it, which is why I think it's so cool. And it just smells so good as well. Like, I love when there's fragrance in my makeup. Not necessarily my foundation, but like my powder products and stuff. Like, I love that stuff. So let's see what is left. I guess lips is next. So I don't know what I'm gonna do for lips though. I haven't really thought of that. What do I want to do? I think I'm just going to use one of these Wet n Wild lip glosses. This is one of their Mega Last liquid lipsticks. It's not a liquid lipstick, is it? Yeah, it is. It's one of their High Shine lipsticks. So I'm just going to put this on. It's a very, very nude gloss, but I just think that this is going to look very nice with this look. I really like these glosses just because of how opaque they are. Like, I am such a sucker for an opaque gloss, and I feel like this looks really nice. So let's chat a little bit more about this palette now. So far, I would say that my first impression is incredible, and I'm really, really happy that I bought this palette. The mattes performed very well. They're very buildable. They're definitely like on the sheer side, but since they do build, it's not really an issue. It's just going to take a little bit longer to build it up than it would if you were working with a shadow that is more opaque and more pigmented at first. But so far, I think that the quality of the mattes was really, really nice. I didn't have any issues with them sticking under my eye or anything like that. The shimmers, obviously I haven't tried that many of them, so I can't really speak for all of them. The kind of bluish purpley shadow that I used down here is definitely a satin. Not my favorite formula, but I can see why it has a place, and if there is going to be some kind of a satin in a palette, I do prefer to be on the darker side, because the satin is something that I would want to use to blend into a matte, if that makes sense. Like I don't want to have a satin as my like highest up shade in my crease, but I don't mind having it as my second shade to blend into a matte. So this is like the perfect depth of a satin for me to be able to use that. So I don't mind that at all in this palette. I also don't really mind this one because I feel like I could use that to deepen up this pink. So I don't really mind the satin in this palette as much as I would usually mind satins, because I feel like a lot of the time like there are satins that are just too light for my liking. But I would say that so far, I'm very impressed by this palette, and I'm definitely going to do more looks with this. I feel like I'm honestly getting a little bit overwhelmed right now because there was such a long stretch of time where there was just nothing new coming into my collection, and now I have like new things, and I know that other new things are coming because I have had a couple of brands reach out asking to send me stuff. So there's definitely going to be some more first impressions on my channel, but I need to get my shit together and actually start working on these multiple looks videos because I do want to get them out to you guys, and I do want to just do it for myself and actually like put out a little bit more substantial content, if you will, that's not just like a first impression or like a chatty video. Like I want to do some videos that takes a little bit longer to make. So let me know how you feel about this look. I think it really came together. I love that shimmer. I just cannot stop staring at it. I just think it looks so beautiful. Let me know how you feel about my background and like my new setup and my sound and all of that. I would love your input because this is something that I probably need to tweak a little bit here and there. And also my lighting, I feel like it looks a little bit off with this background, so I need to do some, you know, minor adjustments here and there, but that's totally fine. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you for watching as always. If you want to see some other first impression videos, here's a few more, and if you're new, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.